Welcome back to the channel and good day to you. I wanted to propose to you the idea that boredom is a great thing to have. You might be thinking it's not very good to be bored and not be doing anything, not knowing what to do, but boredom is a gift. I want to present this idea to you. So I have a little journal book I've been using. This is a Moleskine Cahier, and I'm using a Scrivener fountain pen, medium point. And I started just through sheer boredom, which is a gift. I just started sketching some ideas. And before you know it, the germ of a project kind of happened. And the background to this is that a number of months ago, maybe 6 or 9 months ago, I can't remember really when it was, I wanted to make a calendar system for my desk. And I wanted it to be like a perpetual calendar. So I made this calendar system that has these cards where you have the day of the week and then cards for the day of the month, the number of the date. You kind of flip the cards around every day to set the new date. And that's been working pretty good, but this germ of a new idea I had is just a crazy little crafting project, nothing really super important or anything, but I thought I would share it with you. It's an idea for kind of a novel idea of a calendar, a perpetual calendar to keep track of the day of the week and the date of the month. So let me show you what I drew in here and let's go build this project. Well, I was sketching here in my journal book with my Scrivener fountain pen. This was the first sketches I made. I was kind of thinking that this calendar system would be something like that African game called Oware, little carved kind of wooden flat thing with pockets for the various tokens that I would use. So this was kind of the initial idea, Monday through Friday and then Saturday and Sunday up here. So you kind of think of the days of the week going in a circle like that, which is kind of the way I think of the days of the week visually in my mind. And then a storage area here for spare tokens or balls or marbles or whatever. And then the tens digit be up here, the ones digit would be here, and the ones digit would be quinary based like an abacus. And then I kind of refined the idea, just going through different steps of thought here about it. And down here I was thinking about the difference between, for instance, 3D printing this, which would more easily have straight sidewalls versus if you carved it out of wood with a rounded bottom or something like that. Then I had the idea for if you had a thin piece of wood and you could use like a Forstner bit on a drill press and you could drill out these holes or use a router bit and router out these holes and then glue or laminate it to the base so you'd have these pockets like that. That would be one way to make it. And then some sketches about the side pockets, what shape they should be, and then a more rectangular version, and then kind of a graphical layout. This is an idea for using a piece of ferrite metal with the different areas on it painted and then using magnets, rare earth magnets, so you could hang this on the wall as a plaque. And then I went through a peg system, so this would actually be like a little pegboard. You could use golf tees or maybe something a little shorter. You could either do it flat, laying on the table, or you could hang it on a wall and have the holes drilled sideways at an angle so the pegs go in at an angle. Those are just various brainstorming systems. And then I finally come up with what I think is the better design was having the days of the week like this and having the storage area up here. So then it sort of became apparent that you could do it in 3 rows horizontally. And then the final version that I ended up making, the storage area, instead of just being an open pocket, had 6 holes, 3 and 3. Okay, so before I show you how I made this, let me describe to you my idea of how it works. So we'll use this as an example. So you have this kind of a circuit, these holes here that represent the days of the week starting Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So you just have one marble or ball or whatever that you put in the pockets based on what day of the week it is. And then the date of the month is 2 digits, and so the tens digit is here. It would either have 0, 1, 2, or 3 marbles on it, and then the units digit for the date of the month would be represented here, which would be 0 through 9. But instead of going up to 9 marbles, marbles total, my idea was to use the quinary grouping that is used in the Japanese soroban abacus. So in this case, the number 9 is represented. The single marble in this pocket represents 5, and then however many marbles down here represents 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. So what I have shown in this illustration is an example of the minimal number of marbles needed to represent a date would be the first of the month. So 0, 1, and whatever day it is, I'm showing Monday. So the other unused marbles go in the storage slot. And then the maximum number of marbles needed is for the 29th of the month. So here you can see there's 2 here representing 20, and then the 9 here, 5 and 4 ones. And then you have a single marble for the day of the week again. So the maximum number of marbles, or what I call tokens, represented here is 8. So all you need is 8 marbles total. So you can see why in this illustration, for the minimal number needed, I have 6 spares not being used. So you would just cycle through every day. You advance the week marble one day, and you advance the numbers accordingly. So this was the previous calendar system that I had made, and this was based on the idea of a perpetual calendar. So you have 2 decks of cards, and you have this little holder that I made out of a spare flexible plastic notebook. These cards are made of that same black flexible notebook material. I have printed the graphics onto some Avery letter size adhesive labels and then laminated them with packing tape, my poor man's laminator method. So the days of the week, you have Monday, so you have to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you have to put it back to the back of the deck, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then an unused one there. And then the numbers, of course. So today is actually Tuesday, so I would have to flip this one to Tuesday, and today is the 30th. So you have to flip it up like that. But the numbers go 1 through 31 in the same way. And the way they are held in this holder is only the tops of the cards are seen, like today is Tuesday the 30th. So one of the frustrating things about using this calendar system, it worked okay, but would be that, for instance, let's say it's the 28th, or yesterday was the 28th. I get up in the morning, I want to flip it to the 29th. So I pull this out and I realize, oh, I have to go to the next card. Well, I have to put this card in the back of the deck. And the frustrating thing was, when you put it in the back of the deck, you have to make sure that you put it in so that the lowest number is showing up, because then when you cycle through the deck and you come back to this card, you want it to have the lowest number showing. So that was always like a little fiddly thing. You pull it out and then, oh, what's the lowest numbers? You got 4 numbers to look at. Oh, okay, 25 is the lowest, so you have to put it back like that. That was a little fiddly, and I wasn't really happy about it. But other than that, it worked okay. Okay, so I have this piece of wood here, and I have 8 of these pachinko balls I'm going to use, and I want to space these out evenly. This is 5.5 inches, and I'm okay with metric or American Standard, but it turns out that best spacing for these is going to be 11/16 inch apart. And that puts the center of the outer 2 balls right here, which if you look at the size of it, it should be nice and snug with a little bit room for a border on both sides here, like that. So now I have to make some lines on all these and then divide it into thirds, because I need 3 rows. Okay, so I'm going to use this carpenter's square, and I'm using a 0.5 millimeter mechanical pencil, so it has a very small kerf to the line, so it should be fairly accurate. The accuracy of this whole thing is really based on how accurate can I position a drill bit on my drill press. That's the real question. All right, I'm going to put the center of the other 2 rows a 1/2 inch away from the middle. Okay. So these intersections will define where I drill holes, except there has to be one in the middle up here. Each of these intersection points I have to make a starter dimple for the drill bit. So I have this 3/8" Forstner bit that I'm hoping will allow these balls to sit almost halfway down, a little bit higher up than that. But just to test it out, I'm going to drill a test hole in a scrap of wood. That looks about perfect. It looks like it stays in the pocket nicely, and I can grab it easily because the equator of the ball is sitting up, so I can grab it real easy. That's about perfect. Okay, well, I have not finished this in terms of, finishing the wood, but the holes are drilled. So this represents the minimal setup. So you have 6 balls in storage. It's the first of the month, so 01. And then your day of the week can be any one of the 7 days of the week, of course. So let's say it's Sunday. So that's Sunday, the first. And then the maximum setup would be, let's say, the 29th of the month. And one of the days, pick a day, let's say Saturday, let's say Wednesday. Okay, so I've got to figure out how I'm going to finish this. I initially was thinking I'd just like sand it and just varnish it or lacquer it so it has a natural wood finish, but then I got to thinking, well, maybe I want to put some kind of a delineation between the days of the week here, the storage part here, and then the day of the month here and here. Not really sure if I'm going to do that yet, but well, there it is so far. Well, it's the next day, and I've let the paint dry, and I've done a little sanding on the front and on the sides and edges. I might go back and put a little bit more paint in the bottoms of these pockets, because where the tip of the Forstner bit dug into the wood down there, you can see there's little holes, and I'd like to cover that up. So I just need to put in more paint. I'll do that at a later time, but I just wanted to show you here the results. So this is actually, the 29th is yesterday being Monday. So when I got up this morning, I flipped this to Tuesday, I flipped this to the 30th, and then the other steel balls or marbles are put back in the storage. So now it's 30/30 Tuesday. So it's kind of a cute little device. I really think it's pretty neat. You can see maybe the difference in size between it and this perpetual card system that I had made. I like the look of this. I think it's just very kind of elegantly simple, and a little cryptic for somebody to understand who's not in on the how it works. But it's for me, it's my own private little calendar system, and I think it's kind of cool. And maybe it serves potentially also as a fidget toy. You can kind of just play with the steel balls and all that. So I have a pachinko machine out in my man cave shed. Well, the man cave shed used to be the place that I hung out and smoked cigars when I used to smoke cigars. It's now like storage for paper products and stuff. That's how it goes. But this pachinko machine has a connection to this YouTube channel, because this used to belong to my Aunt Pat. You remember Aunt Pat, who had the Royal 10 typewriter? Well, she got this pachinko machine in Japan when her and Uncle Joe were vacationing years ago, and she eventually gave it to me. And I have the pachinko machine kind of fixed on the wall here, and I have a little pipe system that feeds the balls back out to a little tray, and then you put them back in the hopper here. These little balls, pachinko balls, have some kanji characters engraved on them. So that's kind of an interesting little thing to use, is pachinko balls for this project. So I think it's ironic that out of sheer boredom, during those bored moments, it almost seems like time stands still. Nothing's happening. You're in this perpetual frozen state. But out of sheer boredom, I come up with a new calendar system for myself, a little project that helps me keep track of the passage of time, which may be slightly ironic. Well, I just want to encourage you to don't let those bored times pass by without taking advantage of them. Boredom is a gift. Take advantage of that gift. Take advantage of the quiet moments. Get away from your phone, your tablet, your screen, your TV, your computer, and just sit and daydream. Daydreaming is a gift. Let your mind wander. What can you do? What can you make? What can you build? What can you write? What can you create? That's my encouragement for you today. Let your mind wander, do some daydreaming, take advantage of those quiet moments, and do something great. And until next time, stay creative and have yourselves a great day. Bye-bye for now.